All right. So Madison, why don't you start by just introducing yourself and then just kind of explaining what a budget analyst is and what they do.
Okay. Well, good morning. My name is Maddison Tice. I have been with the City of Rock Hill for right at 3 years. I started out as the budget analyst here, and the main responsibilities of the budget analyst, working in government, we don't operate on a profit basis. So, it isn't our goal in government to actually make a profit. So we basically run on a budget. So it means we run on a zero based budget, which means our expenses equal our revenues. So every year around this time, around January, between January and April, we get together with all our departments and they have different requests for things that they might need in the next budget year. And those can range from new capital equipment to increases for personnel. They might have maintenance increases, things like that. And so we discuss with them what their needs are or sometimes wants. And we get back with our city management and our budget team. And of course, city council is who officially signs off on all of this. So once we get approval from all of them, we finalize the budget and start our new budget process July 1. So that's really what we operate on for the entire year. So if you have, $20,000 for maintenance each year, we really are following that, making sure we're staying within budget going forward. So that's the main role of the analyst. The analyst does report to the budget officer. So, and then the budget officer reports to the chief financial officer. So right now we actually have a new budget analyst starting with us in 2 weeks. So we're excited for them to join us. And the role of the budget officer is really just to oversee the full budget process and to present to city council. Of course, they give us their priorities for the budget year and where they want the city of Rock Hill, kind of the direction they want us to go. And then we kind of run the numbers and see what we can do for the next budget year, which might include a tax increase, it might include a rate increase for electric, or even just cutting expenses, kind of whatever city council wants to accomplish in the next year. And so the budget officer will present to them and present the budget, and they will approve before July 1.
Awesome. So what made you decide to become a budget analyst and then a budget officer?
So I went to University of South Carolina and I majored in accounting. And then from there, I got my master's at Winthrop in business administration. So I actually started out in public accounting. I got my CPA license and I did public accounting, mostly tax accounting for corporations, some personal income tax, mostly corporations. So I did that for 3 years in Charlotte. And then actually had a friend of mine that worked for the city of Rock Hill. So really going out of college, I didn't really know much about governmental accounting. I only had really one course in college on governmental accounting. But when I talked to her and all the benefits of working for, a state agency like the city of Rock Hill, working for local government, a lot of advantages as far as, the pension system and benefits and things like that. And I knew that, the city of Rock Hill, I grew up here. So once I kind of looked more into the job, I was really interested. And then from here, it's been great for me because I get to kind of touch a lot of different things, like working for the city of Rock Hill. We have all different kinds of departments. So we've got police, fire, we've got utilities, we have housing and neighborhood services, economic development. I know we're all excited about the Panthers coming and different things that are going on downtown. So working for the budget office, you get to touch all of those different aspects of local government. So that's really been cool for me to just kind of know what's going on. Growing up here, I feel like it's changed so much over the past 30 years. And, it's really cool to kind of be a part of that and really get to kind of touch each aspect of that and kind of know what's going on. So it's been really rewarding for me. And then, I was recently promoted to budget officer, and I do have some long-term career goals here to move up within the finance department. So we have a strong leadership team here within our finance department. Our city manager came up through the finance department. He's been here for over 30 years now. The assistant, same thing. He has been here for over 30 years. And then my boss, who's the chief financial officer, has been here for 15 years, and then she was at York County before that. So we have a lot of experience and a lot of hardworking people here at the city, and I think it's been a great job for me.
That's awesome. It's so nice that there are so many opportunities in that department for you to, move up and progress. So you don't have to stay in that one position for, the rest of your life.
Oh, no. And like the city of Rock Hill, I've noticed just kind of from being here for a couple of years and talking to other people, they're really great about adapting to your strengths and what you have interest in. So, when I first started, I was, mainly focusing on the budget. And then, a couple of years in, now we have the Panthers coming, and I was like, sign me up for that. I want to start working on that stuff. That's really cool. And so I talked to my boss about it, and I've been really helping out with the planning and talking to the development people over there. So I got to see a lot of those plans and just really get, I'm still doing finance stuff. I'm still running the numbers. And of course, that's definitely more of my strength, but it's still cool to see all the design plans and all that kind of stuff. So, really, they've been great about if you have an interest or if you have a strength, kind of playing to your strengths. So you're not really pigeonholed into just because your title might say budget analyst, it doesn't mean that that's all you do. There's a lot of different aspects that you can help out with the city. I've learned a lot just being here, thinking I was just going to do finance. And now since we have all these utilities, I learn about 24-inch water lines, and I learn about, road construction and how much it costs to pave a road and all kinds of stuff that, I never thought I would know about or learn about. But that's kind of like the great thing about working for the city is just, you're not pigeonholed. There's so many different departments, so many different people. I think we have over 1,000 employees now. So it's just, there's always something going on, and it's definitely it might not always be in the finance area, but there's always a finance aspect to pretty much everything that we do. So it's been really cool to get to touch a lot of different areas.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
What type of personality or skills would somebody need to be in a job like you have?
So I think a lot of times when you think typical accountant, you think introvert, you think sitting at your desk and not really having a whole lot of group work and things like that. And I think there is some aspects to that. We have our controller, so he is over the entire accounting department. And so I think a typical accountant, he is definitely a typical accountant. He is into routines. He's very, works pretty much exclusively by himself, doesn't do a whole lot of group work. But I feel like for a budget analyst, I do a ton of group work. So I do work with a lot of different departments. I do think, since I have to do presentations and things like that, I think it is good to kind of be comfortable with public speaking. That took me a little while because I hadn't really had experience with that. So that was something that I kind of had to learn on the job. But also I think, definitely the biggest probably skill set that you need is just being able to take initiative on your own. So this job isn't something that you really have a micromanager or anyone that's kind of hovering over you. A lot of things and a lot of avenues that I've kind of gotten into with this job, I've found just by taking initiative and saying, okay, hey, this is an area that we have a weakness in, or this is an area that we could improve. Do you mind if I start working in that? And so, I think that's definitely a skill set you need to have. As far as, my background in school, I definitely think accounting, has helped me tremendously. I don't do a whole lot of journal entries or anything like that anymore, but I do think having that accounting background and understanding how debits and credits work and, that kind of stuff has really helped me in this job. And then, I definitely think, just being able to, like I said, not being able to kind of do things on your own and really take the initiative. I think that's probably the biggest skill set that someone would need for this job.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So I know you said did you say you got your bachelor's degree in accounting?
Yes.
So to become a budget analyst, would you just be able to major in finance, or do you need to major in accounting, or what would you recommend?
So we actually, when we posted the job a few weeks ago, we said a business degree in accounting preferred or finance, But we also looked at applications that just had other business management, marketing. So I think business degree definitely, I would say from just preference standpoint between myself and the chief financial officer that we did prefer accounting. We both are CPAs and so know kind of the extent of accounting background. So that was just personal preference, but I don't think necessarily going to any other city or anything like that, that they would, necessarily prefer accounting over finance. I think either one of those would be enough. And, I mentioned that I do have my master's, but you don't necessarily have to have your master's for a budget analyst. The person that we just hired, he has a bachelor's in accounting, but he is interested in getting his master's, and he's talked a little bit about getting a CPA license as well. So that's something that we'll, work with him on and to see if he truly does want to go there, but you don't have to have that for a budget analyst position.
Okay. Now, you've talked a lot about the pros of being a budget analyst and working in this department. What would you say are some cons?
Some cons. Okay, so this is some cons for me for working for local government, not necessarily budget analyst, but local government. And I'm sure you guys kind of understand this too, working for school district, but some things can get really political. And so, sometimes you, as a budget analyst, hey, we need to raise employee morale. Like we really need to give personnel increases. If we could give everybody a 3% raise, we could be doing a better job. But then when you get to council and they say, well, we need to repave roads and we need to replace that water line and we need to do, all these different things, their priorities might not line up with ours. So I think our city manager does a really good job of trying to align the two. But sometimes it doesn't always work out that way. They have projects and, they ran their campaign based on various reasons. It could be, I'm going to lower taxes, I'm going to repave roads, whatever they want to do. And sometimes, like I said, it just doesn't line up with everything that we want to do and, how we think we could operate the city a little bit better. And, kind of our focus, of course, internally is going to be on employees. And maybe that's not always the focus of council. So that would probably be the biggest or the hardest thing working for a local government. And then sometimes too, working with the different departments. So since we do have various departments at the city, we don't have necessarily like a finance person in each department, which would be really helpful. So some departments have somebody that is really helpful with like when I send them their budget, they send it back to me, they have questions, they're great. But then we have other departments that just don't have that background. And so it can be tough working with them sometimes and trying to explain how the process might work. And, if they have, a lot of times they don't understand, they're like, well, I need X, Y, and Z. Well, it's all coming from the same pot of money. So I understand that, your department might need this, but you're also competing against 10 other departments for the same amount of money. So it's just, sometimes that can be difficult to get people that maybe aren't finance or accounting based to wrap their head around those kind of things.
Yeah.
Where else can you find budget analysts besides, city governments?
I think honestly, budget analysts, really any company is going to have a budget analyst position. I would say, it will definitely look different in for-profit organizations, and their goal is to make money. So I think it will look different. And they, as far as government goes, like I mentioned before, we are restricted to our budget. So if there's a $1 million line item, we can't spend any more than $1 million. Versus if you're working for a corporation that's for profit, they might have that $1 million line item, but if their sales go up $1 million, then they have another $1 million to spend. So, I feel like their budgets are definitely more flexible than ours. And, even if we have more income, our line items don't change. So, as far as expenses go. So, I think that's definitely a difference, but I would say really any company would have a budget analyst because every company is going to, produce a budget each year. It just might be how they kind of monitor it throughout the year would be different.
Thank you.
Now, to become a budget analyst, do you need prior experience in another area?
I would say, well, for us, budget analyst is, I wouldn't say it's entry level, but it's like maybe one tier up from entry level. But we did, when we were actually looking to hire this position, we were looking at recent grads, and just, because for us, a lot of times we take interns, and it's really something that can be learned on the job. So I would say, maximum of maybe 3 years of experience would be great, but it's not required. Like I said, we were looking at some recent grads. But in that case, it's kind of hard to assess because all we can look at is really their education. But I don't think you would really need necessarily a whole lot of experience. It can definitely be learned on the job.
Now, a lot of students are probably wondering, how much does a budget analyst make in a year? Now, I know you work in government. I don't know if you could attest to the other areas like for-profit, but.
I don't know. So I pulled out our pay manual. So we have ranges for all of our positions. So budget analyst can be really 3 jobs. So the financial analyst, which is for us is a grade 117. So that's listed at basically 55,000 to 79,000 a year. And then the actual budget analyst title, which is a 119, that one goes from 61,000 to 88,000 a year. So again, yeah, it's, I would say it's kind of like one step up from entry level. It's not, we would definitely be willing if we had, experience with an intern or something to take someone that's entry level. But we do kind of put a little bit more preference on, 1 to 3 years of experience.
Yeah.
If they worked for, I know it depends on the corporation, but if they worked for the corporation because it's also for profit, that probably would be higher, wouldn't it?
Yes, usually, that's kind of a rule of thumb with government. It would, I would say on average, it would probably be higher. I don't know how much higher. I think it probably depends on the size of the corporation. But yeah, unfortunately, I don't have that material in front of me, but I would say, yeah, good rule of thumb is probably going to be higher.
All right.
So last question I have for you is, if you could give any piece of advice for a student wanting to go into finance, accounting, who maybe wants to become a budget analyst, what piece of advice would you give them?
So I would tell them, definitely once they're, going to college, definitely look for internships. That has paid dividends for me. So when I started out at South Carolina, I wasn't even a business major. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And so when I transferred into accounting, South Carolina, especially, I'm sure other schools are this way too, but they were really kind of pushed us into internships. They just explained, how great they can be, and it actually turned into a full-time job offer for me. And that happened with a ton of people that I knew. So definitely think you need to, do those internships. Like I said, so I did an internship my senior year with an accounting firm. And then that turned into a full-time offer. And even after, I told them I wanted to get my master's, and they still, gave me an offer a year later. So I would definitely suggest doing internships. And, a lot of things that you learn as a budget analyst is on the job. So, it's kind of hard when you're in those classes, sometimes it's kind of hard to relate to what I'm doing now. But every now and then I look back and I'm like, oh, yeah, I did learn this in school. So I think definitely if you want to be a budget analyst, I think probably majoring in accounting or finance is the way to go. And then, like I said, definitely look for that internship opportunity.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for taking the time and educating our students. So we really appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. Thank you guys. I feel flattered that you guys asked me. So if y'all have any follow-up questions from your students, please email me and let me know, and I'll be glad to answer anything.
Great. Now, I do have one other question. Do you take job shadow students in a non-COVID world?
Yeah, we do normally. We do take job shadow students, and we even offer internships to high school students every now and then. Okay. So not normally in the finance office. Normally we are looking for that, undergrad student. But kind of in other roles at the city, we do take internships over the summer. We do have some job shadowing opportunities. So actually on our website right now, they are hiring for interns. So if anybody's interested, they can go on our website and under jobs, and there's a link for interns. And like I said, not normally in the finance department do we have high school interns, but there's definitely other departments that they could look into if they're interested.
Great.
And even some, seasonal jobs too for high school students if they're interested.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you so much, Maddison, for your time. And this was so helpful. I feel like I learned a lot.
Yes,
I'm sure our
me
students
too.
will too.
And that's good, because
Thank
then
you
we
guys.
can share it more with students. So that's good.
Perfect.
All
I
right.
appreciate it.
Thank you very much.